welcome back to the Purple Sector podcast for the Spanish Grand Prix preview. My name's Isa,
And I'm Yusuf.
and in this episode, we're going to be going through our predictions for the Spanish Grand Prix and what we think is going to happen. And so let's get straight into those predictions. And we're going to start off with quali. So if you don't know how these work, so our predictions are qualifying 1, 2, 3, who will be first, second, and third. Race, who will be first, second, and third, who will be on the podium. Most impressive driver, most impressive team, most disappointing driver, and most disappointing team. So Yusuf, go first. Who do you think will be first, second, and third for qualifying?
So, P3 in qualifying, Max Verstappen.
Really?
Yeah, I think he might not have an amazing time. P2, Sergio Perez. I think he had an absolute stinker of a weekend last week, and he's got to pull his boots up. So I think he will have a good weekend this weekend. He will change, hopefully. And then P1, the homeboy, Fernando Alonso. And I know that we both said this yesterday as well, last week as well. But we really want it this time. So
No, I'm not.
let's hope that Fernando Alonso is on pole.
To be honest, I'm not really. I don't really agree with that. Just because the time that this episode is being recorded, um, FP1 has just finished, and Max Verstappen actually finished, I think, 7/10 ahead of Sergio Perez in P2. That is an absolutely ginormous amount. So,
But you can't tell anything from FP1. We said that last week as well.
yeah, but Verstappen, like that guy, he's really on form. For him to probably to be for you to predict him being behind Perez this weekend, I'm not really sure. This is a track that's really looking like a Red Bull track. I think they're going to dominate. And so what I have gone with is P3 Leclerc, P2 Verstappen, and P1 Perez. Yeah, so I do think
So
that.
you're still saying that Verstappen's behind Perez, even though he's 7/10 ahead of him.
No, but the way that mine is different to yours is that you've got Alonso P1. It's really not looking like Aston Martin are going to be there. This is a real Red Bull dominated track. You can tell even just from watching FP1, they were just so quick, so much better than everyone else.
They could have been having different fuel loads, doing different things. You never know. The Aston Martin might have just been doing race simulations. They might not have been doing
True.
fast laps. You never know. Fernando Alonso is 9.5 tenths behind Max Verstappen. Obviously, that's not representative of what's going to happen. Who is your P1? Perez.
My P1 was Perez, so yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So going on to the race.
But why is Leclerc P3?
We've
He
seen
had
what
a
he did.
torrid time in Monaco.
Yeah, but we can see what he's capable of. This is qualifying we're talking about. We're not talking about the race. In qualifying in Monaco, he was amazing. P3 he qualified, and then obviously got the penalty. But looking at Baku, that surprise pole position, he can really pull it out of the bag. So he's got amazing potential here in Spain. He's an amazing driver, and I'm thinking P3.
I don't think so. But what's your race 1, 2, 3?
Well, for the race, I've gone a little bit different. I've gone for Verstappen P1, Perez P2, and Alonso P3. So I think Alonso, he'll be just keeping up his streak of podiums every single race this year, isn't it?
What did he?
I think he missed out on one.
He missed out on Baku, I think.
Yeah, so he did.
But before the last race, he had the exact amount of points every single weekend until the last race at Monaco. He got extra points at Monaco.
Yeah, so pretty good for Alonso. I think he'll keep up his streak of podiums. P2.
Not a streak, because he missed out Baku, but
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Enough points to have a podium.
Yeah, so P2, I've gone for Perez. I think Verstappen's race pace is just unbelievable. It's on another level. He'll smash it. Perez, it just isn't, he's just not there. I think at the start there was a lot of speculation. Maybe could he bring the fight to Verstappen? But I think it's just come to a point where Verstappen's, he's just flown away into the distance now. There's not really much chance. So I've gone, so Perez P2, Verstappen P1.
And for me, P3, I am thinking Esteban Ocon. He had a brilliant time last week, and the Alpines do look fast. We've seen them in FP1, and they were quite fast. Esteban Ocon was P3, and he is quite a good driver, I think. So it isn't beyond his capabilities. So I think he will manage to fight his way up.
And what happened, obviously, in Monaco as well, that'll be a huge confident boost for him.
Yeah. So I think he can make it onto the podium. So P3, Esteban Ocon, P2, Fernando Alonso, and P1, because he is inevitable, Max Verstappen.
No Perez on the podium, even though you said that he'll qualify second.
Yeah, no Perez on the podium. I don't know what's going to happen. He might just have some bad race pace. He might have a problem. We don't know, but something's going to happen, I think.
Well, so then moving on to most impressive driver. Who's your most impressive driver?
Um, well, I think it'd be Esteban Ocon because he will fight his way up to a podium position. I'd like to say Fernando Alonso, but if my predictions come true, he's going to drop a place. So I don't think I can put him
Well,
as most impressive driver.
yeah. So my most impressive driver, I've gone for, believe it or not, Nick De Vries. That's right. So he ended up in free practice one, at the end of free practice one in P4, and last weekend in Monaco he had a pretty solid race. Started P12 I think and finished P12 as well. So it was quite solid. He did
And
a good job. I think things are like they're looking up for Nick De Vries now. He's had some time to settle in. He really struggled, but I think now it's going to be going up from here.
also, he was like one of the only people who didn't crash at one point in Monaco, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. So
Especially since he's become the new Latifi who just crashes all the time.
Yeah, so I've gone for Nick De Vries. So then moving on to most impressive team. This one was quite a hard one for me, but I'm just looking at all the teams. You don't want to go with Red Bull because they're
That
just doing so
yeah,
amazing all the
if they
time.
do really well, it's not really impressive on their part because
Yeah,
it's just
it's just what they do, most of the time. So I've decided to go with Alfa Romeo. Bit of
really
a random one,
they've
but
been terrible all this year.
yeah, so it is a bit of a random one, but I think that they've gone a bit under the radar. They got points in Bahrain, and I don't know why. It's just like a feeling I have that Alfa Romeo. They've been quite incognito, I guess you could say. So far this season, and I think they're just gonna pop up, maybe steal a couple of points. So far, and I think this week in Spain, I think Bottas maybe could do it.
Yeah. So my most impressive driver.
Team.
Oh no, sorry. My most impressive team is Alpine because they did quite well in Monaco, and I've foreseen that Esteban Ocon will be on the podium, which will be amazing for them, I guess. And they've P3 and P5 in FP1, so I think they have pace, so maybe they will do quite well this weekend. Hopefully they do as well.
Yeah, so I've gone with for my most disappointing driver now. Moving on, I've gone with Lewis Hamilton, and again, this pains me to say. I'm a huge Hamilton fan and a big Mercedes fan, but I just don't think those upgrades are working. Hamilton, he's just not really seeming to be on the pace. Of course, in Monaco, they had a brilliant race. Actually, I think he finished P4
P4 and
with Russell
P5,
at
yeah.
P5. That was amazing for Mercedes. But FP1, P12. Obviously, you can't always tell from FP1, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be their weekend. I'm not 100% sure that that these upgrades are really gonna do what they want. So yeah, my most disappointing driver is Lewis.
My most disappointing driver was Lewis as well, but I'm gonna change it because we can't have the same prediction. So my most disappointing driver, ooh, is Valtteri Bottas. He,
Contrary to what I said about Alfa Romeo,
yeah,
then
he's been doing consistently badly all season, so I think I'm just gonna put him, yeah, not doing very well
it's kind of gonna be like
this
a
race.
loophole. He never does well, so he just does bad again, and I guess you could be getting
Yeah,
the
yeah,
point for that. Well, moving on then to most disappointing team, our final prediction for today, and I have gone with Haas. So yeah, Haas
yeah.
has been a pretty poor start to the season. In Monaco they were just absolutely nowhere. Magnussen and Hulkenberg, both out in Q1, both really struggling in the race, and all season long they've really been having a hard time. So yeah, I think Haas down in the dumps. Still be the most disappointing driver this sorry te- driver team
Team,
this weekend.
but Kevin Magnussen is P7, which
At the
you
end of
never know.
FP1.
But then Nico Hulkenberg is 18th.
Yeah, so this is why you can't really tell much from
Yeah.
FP1.
My most disappointing team is Williams. They are both 2 whole seconds off Max Verstappen. That is massive. and obviously it's FP1. They didn't do very many laps. You never know what sort of fuel load they have. You never know anything, but it's not looking very good for Williams.
Yeah, I do agree. So Sargent hasn't been able to get off the mark this year with points, and Albon again. I think he's only had a point or two. So it's been a real struggle for Williams, and I kind of get where you're coming from with Williams going to be the most disappointing. Well, that's the end of our prediction segment for the Spanish Grand Prix. So just moving on to talking about what's all the news surrounding the Grand Prix this weekend. I think one of the main things is the chicane going.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I
yeah,
like the chicane. Obviously, it's really bad for racing, but it's a very hard corner to make, and that makes it, especially in qualifying, it spices it up. It's a very slow corner as well, so you can lose a lot of time in it, but you can also win quite a lot of time. So it depends, but they've got rid of it, and it's basically just like a straight section now.
yeah, but
So they've extended the straight, and it's really really long.
no, so it's not really a straight because obviously it's a corner, but
Yeah.
it's really fast. Like you can sort of see it's so fast. And in FP1, the drivers they were lifting off actually going onto the straight. We were some people were expecting them to take it flat out, but no, they were lifting off quite a bit when going onto the straight. So yeah, well, I'm quite curious to see how the chicane how it'll be in qualifying. I think in qualifying, it'll make it for a really exciting last sector going onto the straight, make it really exciting, really fun. And I think it'll be the same I think it'll be the same in the race. I think the chicane in the race. It just if two people are going side by side, and then the chicane comes, you can't have two people going. Two drivers, two cars going side by side in that, and it just like it made the racing quite you know
Boring. Yeah.
yeah quite clunky, and it really how do you phrase it? It wasn't good for racing because you couldn't have really good battles. But now what I think is going to happen is, going onto that straight, you'll be carrying so much speed. It'll be quite a good spot for overtaking.
Yeah. So, what's your one crazy prediction? It could be anything. So, what's the craziest thing that you think will happen? This Spanish Grand Prix.
So, this is a hard one, but I think that. Oof. So, well, whilst I'm thinking, because I'm not really sure, you can go first.
Um, my one crazy prediction is there will be overtaking at the 2023 Spanish GP.
What?
Yeah.
Is that really a crazy prediction?
Yeah. Compared to the last few races, yes, I think it is.
Well, to be honest, I'm not really agreeing with that. But my prediction is that in qualifying, there are going to be lots of crashes, especially at that last corner. It's so high speed. They're having to lift off. Maybe someone tries to take it flat out. They have a moment. So I do think there'll be a few crashes in qualifying, quite a few actually. So that's my prediction.
Um. Okay then. So we will be doing our qualifying reaction and our race reaction as well this weekend. So make sure you look out for that. And is there anything else you
Yeah.
want to
So
do?
we're just going back to that thing that we were talking about the chicane. I just want to talk about something about that. So basically, the because obviously it's been removed now. Is basically a right hander going onto the straight, and tire deg is gonna be really high this weekend because I was listening to it on Sky Sports, and what they were saying was that there were lots of really high speed right handers. So it's really fast, which means that there'll be a lot of strain on the left
Oh
tire.
yeah,
So there will be
that
there'll be
is
some
true. Yeah.
there'll be a lot of really high tire deg. So that could come into play, especially for teams like Ferrari, who's they're quite notorious for not having great tire degradation this season. So I do think that's another factor as to why Red Bull probably will be more dominant this weekend as well.
Yeah, I think turn three, turn four. I think it might be turn six. They're all very fast right-handers.
Last corner
The
as
last
well.
corner were I think there's just before the last corner. I think the penultimate corner that's a right-hander as well. There's a lot of right-handers actually. That's quite
Yeah,
true.
that's exactly why the tire deck will
So
be
yeah,
quite,
there will be quite a bit of strain on
yeah,
new
for the
tires.
left, probably like the left front and left rear. But yeah, so that's just something that I wanted to add about this weekend. And it's like we are thinking there's going to be Red Bull domination, but with that removal of the chicane, who knows what could happen? the racing looks like it could get very exciting. What do you think is going to happen? Tell us in the comments, and also make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. By the way, we'll be live for the qualifying reaction as soon as qualifying is done. Sorry, not live. We'll be recording as soon as that's done, and then we'll also be recording the race reaction and looking back at our predictions as soon as the race is done on Sunday. So yeah, we'll see you then. Bye.